little bit of detail here, just a little highlights with the white. I just dotted the white in with the airbrush. I just basically add the air. Thing is, I've noticed as well, when I have this recording on my camera here, as soon as I put the air on, all the camera does is pick up the air and cuts out the sound. So I'm going to have to try and give you all the descriptions while I'm not actually using the airbrush, if that makes sense. So basically I'm using the airbrush very, very close to the piece, coming back with the air ever so slightly, and just not going all the way full air, just a little bit of air, and then just coming back with a tiny bit of paint like that. I've got my pressure turned down on the compressor almost to non-existent, just very, very fine air. You can hear there's only a little bit. A little highlight. I also did the other side, but like I said before, I peeled the vinyl off and it took the paint with it all around here. So I've blown this in, that's why you can see it looks a little bit darker here. I've just blown in some of the actual base colour. I've put the black in as well, and then I've just done a little bit of highlights, things like that on there. Air pressure a little bit too high there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean up my airbrush, and I've just mixed up a little tiny bit of clear, one of these yogurt pots, and I've put some glazurate pearl in there, if you can see that. You can see the pearl in that on camera. I don't know if you can actually, you might be able to, just to actually blow over some areas with the pearl, just to give it a little bit of depth when I put the final clear on. This is a Max Meyer clear. It's quite a nice clear. Actually, you can get quite a lot of build on this. So I'm just clean up my gun, whack a little bit of this in. We'll blow a little bit here and there, probably around the ends of the flames here and down the bottom here, just to give it a bit of a depth and a bit of lift. And then when we do the flake, we'll just try and put the flake in the background. Hopefully this is thin enough. Mix up quite a bit. Actually, don't really need as much as that. So I'll try and do this around the camera again. So I was saying before, the closer you are, the more sharp the actual area of paint is going to be, and the further away you come, the more of a dusting you get. So you're not actually going to see this pearl until the actual light hits it, because it's in the clear. Just want to go in between the flames to give it that detail, and also cover up some of my messes up. So I've got the gun closer, or the airbrush closer. You can get more of a detailed sort of finish with a little bit of air, and you can bring it back to get more of a faded look. Smells amazing, this Max Meyer clear. You should always wear a mask as well. I do advise you to wear a mask when you're doing this sort of thing. Just like it's difficult to talk and wear a mask at the same time. Make sure you're in a well ventilated area as well. Make sure you've got a fan on or something, or door open or window. A little bit in there. Something like that, doesn't look too bad. So we'll do the same on the other side quick. On the nicer side. I didn't ruin so much. This does take a long time for to dry this clear coat before I can actually do any more masking or anything like that on it. So what I'll do is I'll do these sides and then we'll do something on the back while this is drying, hopefully not touching these sides. So what I'll do then as I go in here, hopefully I can get a little bit of flake through my mini jet, and I'll just go in and put some flake in these areas here. But we'll try that later date when we've actually done all the final red. Something like that. I'll go too mad with it. You can see the pearl, I don't know if you can actually, or maybe a little bit. It just gives it that extra bit of depth. So once the clear's on that as well, that will really make it stand out, give it that extra depth to it, because it'll look wet as well. At the moment it looks matte, doesn't give it a nice glossy finish. So once we get the clear coat on it, a lot of clear coat will be going in there, with the metal flake as well. That'll just give it that extra bit of kick to it. I'm quite happy with the way that's done. I might have to just fade that a little bit in there, it's a little bit too blocky. But then I think that's the sides done. So what we're going to do now, we're going to look at it. I'll finish that little bit off there, then I'll concentrate mainly on the two roses on the back. So what I think I'll do, seeing as I've got plenty of pearl left, I think I'm just going to fade some pearl in around this edge here, just to give it more of a, almost like a 3D sort of style to it, because the gold will be solid here because that's masked off, then there'll be dark red on here, and then the gold will hopefully just fade it in a little bit. Got plenty left in there, so yeah, you can't actually physically see it. Once the clears on, the lights on it, that'll stand out. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Probably leave it till morning now because it's quite late in the day now. I think this is going to be a series of videos. I think I may have even uploaded part 1 already. So I'm going to let that dry and then we'll look at putting the roses on.
Apologies for the break in transmission. This video clip was corrupt. The video will now resume.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start with a little bit of red. The camera only seems to pick up the actual airbrush noise when I'm recording, so I'll try and paint, talk, if that makes sense. Just want a very slight bit of red first. And I think I'll probably go darker there towards the centre and just sort of highlight it around, making it sort of translucent around the actual edge of the petals and darker towards the centre. Then we'll go around here with some green, probably, I don't know, maybe some bronze or some gold or something like that in there as well. We'll add some highlights as well. course, I've let it dry for about half an hour, and I've just warmed up the vine a little bit with my heat gun. Hopefully it should just peel off, and hopefully it doesn't take any paint with it. Nice and gentle. Don't mind if it leaves a bit of glue behind. Don't want it to take that fine line off either. It's very cold today again, so warming the vinyl up has hopefully made a bit of a difference. I might just warm it up a little bit more. No, I think we're alright. Famous last words. And now it's all these detail bits. Let's get rid of that sticking in my fingers. Not bad at all. It's not too bad. Sort of abstractish. So the thing I'm going to do now is I'll demask the other one, and then we'll mask it all up ready for the red. Okay, so it's been a couple of days, and because I've been busy painting a guitar. I don't know if you've seen that video. If you haven't, go and have a look at it. But we're now almost ready for the red base coat. I'm really happy how these roses came out. I think once they get the clear on those as well, they're going to really pop. And going to be the pearl and the gold, and that's going to really sort of shine through. The same with the flames on the side here. But what I've got to do now, before I put the red on, is I'm going to have to mask these areas off. But I did make a mistake and take the gold pin line off there. So I've got to remask that. And then I'm going to just go over with a little bit of application tape. This is a nice gentle mask. It's not going to be base coat, because when the base coat's all done, then I can peel all the masking off completely, and then we can go in with some metal flake and bits and pieces and tart about with it, and then we can put the clear coat all over. It's only going to get probably 1.5 coats of clear. It's only a display piece. It's just going to sit on my shelf over there. So I'm not too bothered about flattening and polishing it and making it look ultra glossy. We'll remask these pin lines that I removed with the fine line, and then we'll whack a bit of the application tape over it. It's cold in the workshop again, so I've got the heater on, but it takes a while to warm up. We're glad when spring's here, and we have got a few little signs of spring already. The snowdrops are starting to come through, which is always a nice sign. So I'm just going to do that. Box, there's my scalpel. Did spill some thinners on my new cutting mat as well, which I'm a bit annoyed about. Actually, it's melted all the actual graphic off the actual cutting mat, which is a little bit annoying. These things happen, I suppose. Try and get it in that line. Don't mind if it's a little bit over. More space, then we'll trim the corners, and we can mask off with the application paper. Like that. Quick I need a new blade in there actually. Just swap the blade. That one. Always be careful when you're putting on new blades. So we're painting the actual red base coat with my little mini jet gun. Just do it in the garage next door. See, we're also covered up when I did the guitar. Okay, chuck some down. A little bit of application paper. This is the stuff I use for all my vinyl graphics, that sort of thing. It just comes in really handy for temporary masking. And then let's lay this down here, and I'll have to just trim around this. If I'm not in shot, I do apologise. Just gently run that along there, something like that. So I'm going to repeat that on the other two sides, and we'll give it a light clean, just with some glass cleaner, just to make sure there's no fingerprints and sticky goo on there, and we'll get the base coat on. Okay, so the main base colour we're going to actually using is this Firecracker Pearl. I've had this for a while now. I did a guitar with it quite a while ago. It's a lovely colour. You can see the pearl in that. And it's similar to the actual original colour, it's just got more pearl and metallics in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a tiny bit of this up, because I'm only going to be using my little mini jet gun. So I'm just going to mix up probably 50ml. Just 1-to-1 with some thinners, because it's quite thick. Just some thinners. And the same again, and that'll do. Go and get the garage set up for paint. And we'll get this blown in. A second. Put a mask on. Very important to wear a mask when you're painting. Just get the air on. So that's one really good coat. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 because it's very translucent. So let that dry for about 20 minutes. So have another cup of tea and come back into another coat, and then we'll see if it needs another third coat, which I think it probably will. You can see some of the fading through here, but I don't mind if it has some little fading, so we're going to put some shading and bits and pieces in anyway. But it's a beautiful colour with a lot of metal flake and pearl in there. So that's all the base coat on. It's still a little bit sticky, so I'm going to leave that for 10-15 minutes just in front of the heat lamp here, just to dry off a little bit. Okay, so the base coat is all really nice and dry now. I'm just doing the demasking. I did actually warm this up with a heat gun. Again, the vinyl. That's coming off lovely. I think I'm just going to quickly warm that up again. I just find warming the vinyl up a touch, especially when it's been on so long and it's cold as well. Plus, this is not the newest vinyl in the world. This is quite old. It's probably well past its use by date, but it's great for masking and temporary stuff. But it is really brittle when it's cold. So on that, it's coming off really nice. Last one. So pray I don't mess this up on the last one. Nice and gentle. Feels quite nice, actually warm. There we go, last bit. yeah, I'm really happy with that. A tiny little mark there, I'm not too worried. It's got that slightly retro look to it. Pull you back a little bit. Quite like that. It's nice. And the side bits have all demasked as well. Demasked that. I'm quite happy with those. And the roses on the back. Oh, I've got to demask the actual gold pin line. I'll do that second. And just warm that up again as well. Gently. Does it. Just gives it that little separation. Not bad at all. A little mark there, so I'm going to just touch that in by hand. I think I did that when I brought it in from the garage. So I'll touch that in by hand, and then on top here, you can see that on there. It's got the little text, petroleum spirit, highly flammable. So I'm just going to get some gold paint with a paintbrush. I'm just going to touch this in, sort of make it stand out. Okay, so I've just got a little bit of gold paint here in a part in a very small paintbrush. I'm hoping this is going to be alright to just, if I can try and do this around the camera, something like that. I think it'll look too bad. So I'll go away around the whole thing and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Right, I've done the little letter touch in there. It's not too bad. Quite a nice little bit of detail. So what we're going to do now is let that dry for about 10 minutes. We're going to mix up some clear, put a little bit of metal flake in each bit of the clear coat, dust some metal flake here and there, just to give it a little bit of added detail. Probably just a little bit of red flake around the bottom here. I might not do much on the front because I quite like it as it is, sort of plain looking. So I may just fade a little bit around here and here. But mostly on the flames and on the back. Maybe a little bit of rainbow flake. We'll have a play. So I've mixed up a bit of clear, only 100 millilitres or so. It's a 2-to-1 mix. So most of this is going to be on the final coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take these little yogurt pots here. Pour a little bit in there. Actually, I'm not going to need as much as that, so I think I'll just split that between the two. Because all I want is a tiny bit of flake. I'm not going to go mad with it. And my flake box is here. With all my flakes in it. My auto flakes and etc. So I think we're going to have a bit of red. I think that's the rainbow. I think we might go for a little bit of rainbow, I think. If you can see that on there. Tiny bit of red. Flake in there. I'm not going to go over the top with it. And then a little bit of the rainbow. I need to actually add a lot of this, but I used a lot on my wheels on the Nissan. So I need to actually put this in a smaller bag, I think. That much. Anyway, using my Sealy gun, use this for all my flakes. It's quite a big nozzle on that, so 0. It's quite a big needle on it. Whack that straight in. We won't be filtering it. And then what we can do, when we've done this, used all this, we can whack the red straight in. Then we'll whack the clear straight over that. Okay, so we'll get this in the garage, get the compressor on, and we'll just blow in a little bit of flake here and there. So that's the rainbow flake done. Now I'm going to go with a little bit of red. that dry for 10 minutes. I'm just going to go over with some normal clear. And there we have the finished fuel can. Really pleased how that looks. Flames on the side, got a little bit extra flake, you can see the actual pearl coming through here as well, like we did earlier. I fitted the actual polished cap, which is in the first episode. Roses look really good. Did a little bit more rainbow flake in these corners here and faded it in, then went over the top with the red just to give it that extra depth. When the light hits that, you can really see the rainbow flake in it. You can pick that up on camera, maybe you can. Still a little bit sticky. Same with that side there. And on the front, just a little bit of flake on the front, just give it that subtle look. Got the text on the top. Yeah, really pleased with that. That's going to sit there now. Pride of place in my workshop on this little drawer unit. Rescued this from the Auto Jumbo, may have seen in a previous video. I think this actually only cost me something like £1 for this little unit. I was actually going to paint this, but I think I'm going to keep it looking rustic. Just oiled it and waxed it. I think it matches in with a nice rustic palette wood surface workbench. Just gives it that sort of nice rustic look. Ties in nicely with my little Pratt's oil can and my little burn. I've got to restore that one and this one here. Yeah, I'm going to polish all them and clean them all up. That'll be coming up in other videos. If you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, don't forget to drop me a comment below and I'll see you on the next one.